Welcome back to the Museum Roadshow and our story on aviation in Becker County. We're with Doc Wething out here at the Detroit Lakes Airport on the Wething Field, almost in the Wething Field. The field isn't out here, right in here.
This building sits in Wething Field.
Sits in Wething Field, okay. Very good. When did they start paving and extending, the boom? You said 46.
Yeah, it didn't get paved until probably in the 60s. We were sod runways for a long time out here. I'll find that if I can get through my notes here fast enough. Notice another thing, that a former airport commissioner, Cecil Bergquist, lived on this farm with his parents when he was a kid. And Cecil, of course, still living here in Detroit, or on his farm out of Detroit Lakes.
Well, you mentioned earlier in the last session something about the water. Do they, have water pontoon landing been a big thing here? It's
not a great big thing, but we use the boat launch dock that the Department of Interior or whoever puts in those boat launching ramps around lakes, and they have a trailer out here, and they can put the float planes on that and take them to Long Lake and launch them down there or pick them up. But a lot of the newer float planes now have a convertible pontoon, has a wheel that comes out of it, and they can land right on the runway. So
it's not used as much anymore?
Not quite as much, because straight pontoons are kind of going out of fashion. Oh,
that's too bad. I mean, that's because my first airplane ride was in a pontoon plane. How many different airports are there around Becker County?
Well, we're the only one in Becker County, but there's Monoman, Park Rapids, Pelican Rapids, Hawley, Henning.
Okay, so there are a number around.
Yeah.
And those are public, but some people have private ones.
There are some Steve Johnson has a private airstrip south of Hawley. But when they first started out, they wanted to have an airport within 30 minutes driving for everybody in the state of Minnesota. Some of them are pretty much just the way they were when they were developed. They're just sod strips, but they are a place where you can land an airplane. Yeah.
What are some names that come up in, local names? I see, I think I read something about Harold Rathbun, and I couldn't help but think of that. They had a flying school here?
That, although it's hard to believe, that goes back before my time.
This 1920, I think.
Yeah, they did. There were several flying schools here. And right after World War II, again, the GI Bill allowed people to take flying lessons, and there was a big surge in people taking flying lessons. And then the government, after seeing what was happening, changed the rules that said the flight training had to somehow enhance the fellow's or person's occupation.
Okay.
And so then you had to prove that you were going to stay in aviation, and so that sort of
died.
Trimmed it down. And that's about the time that Don Brown left. Because it really cut. The GI Bill was what was making them survive.
Well, what about, has this airport ever been used for commercial
We've
big
had
airplanes coming in with people?
Not big airplanes coming in. About the size of the one in back of us. And we've had at least 4 to 5 attempts at putting a passenger service into Minneapolis. But they have to use a smaller airplane, and it has to be full both ways for them to make any money. Most of them got to the point where they just broke even but didn't make any money because it's so easy to just drive the 45 miles or whatever it is up to Hector Field in Fargo.
Okay.
And,
Fargo.
yeah. So, and I don't think we'll ever be a commercial field because of that reason. I don't think the federal people would put the money in. I don't think the state people would put the money in to bring it up to the standards to have regular passenger service. Fargo is just too close.
The state planes come in.
State planes come in quite often. They will fly people in for meetings with the highway department and other departments in town here. It's economically, and by the way, Jack Lynch, who is from town here, is one of the state pilots. But it's economically cheaper to bring in 7, 8 people, have them do their business and go home than to house them overnight. Sure. if it's an evening meeting or something like that. Or to have them drive, you bring 7 people up, they're going to spend at least 4 hours coming up and 4 hours going home. And so flying is the most efficient way of doing it. And the state is, the planes are not just for the aviation department, they're everybody from the governor on down who qualifies for use of an airplane.
I rode in one of them, off
Yes.
and on.
Yeah,
Going to
it makes a
meetings.
real nice service.
It is.
I've ridden too when we had meetings in Mankato.
Yeah.
You go down in the morning and you're back at night, and I'm glad I didn't have to
Do you have
drive.
any quick story about another interesting episode here?
Well, we had an interesting episode just Monday.
Really?
We flew 180 some kids, gave them airplane rides from the local middle school. And that's put together by Bob Granger and Tim Egebrotten and the staff over there. Yeah, and we had a beautiful day like this. And we had 100 and some squealing girls, and the rest of them were boys pretending they were cool. But it was really an interesting day, and everything went well. And it gives the kids a chance to see their territory from the lake, the lakes from above. They don't usually realize how many they are. For a whole lot of them, it's their first airplane ride, and they are really thrilled. And the whole purpose is to encourage people, kids, to consider aviation as a field to go into. And over the years, we've done well over 2,000 flights out of Detroit Lakes here.
History in the making. They will remember it, and it will become history. Thank you, people, for joining us for the Museum Roadshow and Aviation in Detroit Lakes.